So, sir, normally I take an introduction, but I don't want to kill the start that we have right now. So, you see a lot of world going upside down. So, how is marketing helping out in terms of companies reaching their marketing goal? How does it work?
Yeah, so, from my perspective, we focus on small to mid-sized companies, entrepreneurial ran companies. So it's the scrappy entrepreneur, the small business that you always hear about. So I think more now than ever, as a partner, as a resource, it's very important to have the right type of marketing digital company as a good partner for your business, because as soon as COVID hit, the world, obviously got flipped upside down. But I think having a very transparent, clear path and understanding of, where the business is today, accept COVID, and then figure out what do we need to do moving forward. But I think having the right digital marketing partner to kind of help guide you through that process and kind of get you out to the future is extremely important. And that's what we were able to accomplish. We're not done with COVID, but it does seem like things are subsiding a bit. And people they're not, for March and April was complete freak out mode. Everybody sort of gridlocked, everybody was locked down, but now people are starting to get back at it. So
sir, do you work with local companies in your area, or is it the national companies across the US?
Yeah, so we're national across the US. However, we're in Michigan, which is the Midwest, and we have a very large footprint here. So I would say 70% of our clientele actually is within a 60-mile reach from where our office is. I'm still traditional in the sense of, there's like this digital marketing thing, but I love to give the client an experience where if they're able to come to our office, touch and feel the office, see the team. So, I think in the world of digital marketing, there's so many variables and so many unknowns. And quite frankly, a lot of business owners have been burned by companies. So when we talk to a client, we encourage them to come in, they meet the team, they see what we're doing, and it makes them feel, it feels good because then they can actually see the team. And then they actually feel part of it. So we sort of grow with them and do work with them. So it's less transactional, more about creating a partnership.
Creating a partnership, successful partnership. Their success is your business. That's great. What are these clients in Michigan like? Are they scrapyard dealers, store owners, beauty parlors, salon spas, small IT firms? What are these kind of customers? Because Michigan is as my knowledge goes, it's a very small state.
Yeah, so we specifically stay in the trade service market, so B2C, like your roofers, plumbers, electrician, property managers, the salon. And the reason why we do that is, from a digital marketing perspective, B2C, people going online searching for, water damage restoration, plumber in my area, stuff like that. Those have a very high those are searched a lot online, which it turns into leads for the customer. So on the IT side, B2B, it's a little bit more difficult to generate leads, from a digital marketing standpoint from our perspective. So again, we've really looked at the market and said, look, like there's a very large pool of entrepreneurial skilled trade businesses out there. Take like your typical yellow page advertiser, and where do they go? Like, how are they going to get a great solution, which includes a website with all design and all the digital marketing behind it? So that's really where we focus. That's our niche. That's our sweet spot. And that's just, we can have those conversations a million times a day. It's great.
Oh, that's great, sir. Now, see, since you're working with the local market, local industries, local companies, so there are certain restrictions. When I talk about restrictions, is one of those stringent restrictions where you have to work within a certain budget, right? Because these are local stores, local businesses, something like that. So how does the pricing work? How do you convince them for a certain thing? Do you see a value in? Do they see a value in that amount? And how do you see a value in that particular amount? Because I believe you have a large number of team working with.
Yeah, for sure. So that's a great question. And it's to me, it's, every client's a little bit different. So if you have 10 plumbing companies in the area, let's call it 10, they all have a different vision and different strategy. So the first thing we do, we meet with them, we understand what that vision and strategy is. So if they want to stay small and just capitalize around the 15-mile radius from their location and get X amount of jobs per month because they only have 1 or 2 trucks, that's okay. Like we can tailor fit a solution around that. And then we have some other, there's another plumber who might have 100 trucks on the road who has a vision to, 5X their revenue. So we really get to understand that, and then we implement the strategy. So, for our barrier to entry on our minimum project is about $5,000 setup and about $350 a month from an SEO perspective. So it allows everybody can, kind of get to the party and get in. And then what's very interesting in my world with these customers is, a lot of them, like, they don't know what to do or what, you ask them that question, like, where do you want to go? What are you working on? They're like, we're just trying to stay open. We're just trying to get as much business as possible. So we help architect a solution where we get them on this package. And then as they start to get leads, they start to understand that the marketing's working. We've actually had a lot of clients who were then able to scale and then work with our team and then really start to grow and flourish. And we sort of help them understand, you can hire a good marketing company. You can actually drive valuable leads to your business. So it's a pretty cool thing. But I think that's what's unique about digital marketing and my company is, you can have 10 plumbers, but they all operate a little bit differently. And then we just tailor fit our expertise around what they're trying to accomplish, which is great.
That's good to know. You see, when you work with a local business, as I said, we have budget restrictions. And when you are working with such a large team for that particular location, as per the US standards, it's a decent sized firm, right? How do you take care of your employees who are working with you? Because the US is very expensive, right?
Sure,
the small businesses that you're working with, they have very less budget, limited amount for you to even experiment and do something, right?
For sure.
So how are you managing all those things?
Yeah, so we've grown the company now. So I'm CEO, co-founder. We've grown it from a couple people to about 46 employees today. We've deployed specific teams. So we have digital SEO teams, content teams, developer, designer, account managers, salespeople. So like we have, we're really focused on the team aspect of what we do. The days of running around with our, chickens like our heads cut off, just trying to figure out and do everything, that's done. We're able to compensate because, when we onboard a customer, they're paying a setup fee and then they're paying a monthly reoccurring fee behind that. So in my business and our model is we have close to 1,000 clients that pay us monthly for services. So especially through COVID, like the beauty about digital marketing and what we do and the value we offer is as long as we're providing value and working hard for our customers and they're getting leads and value, they're going to stay with us. So through COVID, like all of our customers, like we didn't lose any customers because of COVID, maybe a couple, but that allows us to keep all of our employees on board. So every month, I think a lot of people in design or digital, the first of the month, every month, they're hitting the reset button, right? They have to go out and get all these sales and bring it in. But our model is a little bit different where we have that monthly reoccurring. And that allows us to organically grow and scale and ramp up our company based on the number of jobs and how many clients we're servicing. So that's been really great. So again, if we get a small job that comes in, fantastic. If we get a really large customer that comes in, we've had customers come in where we've had to hire 2 to 3 people based on that customer. And then we ramp the team member on that customer, then they're able to add value throughout the organization as well. So it's been a very unique and refreshing experience that we've been able to kind of self-fund, self-grow without taking any investment capital, and then have a staff of 45 and weather COVID and keep chugging forward. I mean, we've had a record year so far in terms of profitability, in terms of sales. We've already hit our Q3 sales goals for the year. So, all in all, I mean, outside of the negative aspects of COVID, it's really allowed us to embrace the idea around also being flexible, because you also have the compensation aspect of each employee. But then it's like, how do you build a culture around that? And we've always been a very flexible company in terms of, look, like we normally wouldn't have hired because of they're out of the state. But now with COVID and working remote, that's created a lot of good opportunities. So I think culture, the clients, the work we do, like that's what's really allowed us to grow and flourish.
Okay. So what is so different working with the local companies and the national companies? What difference do you see? Because you you can use the experience vice versa, right? Sometimes the experience of working with a local company which has a certain radius in kilometers that they can operate to national companies which are across US or across the globe as well, global footprint. So what are the difference? What are the experience that you have gained in this?
Yeah, so I think, not to pick on like large corporate organizations, but I think that anytime if somebody picks up the phone and calls a large corporation, it's pretty sterile. Like you're just a number, you're a cog in the process, and there's no relationship. I think for us, like we're a small business, we're scrappy entrepreneurs ourselves. So when we connect with a customer, like it's real and we have a relationship. So, if somebody just wants to be a transaction and go with a larger company and not really care what they're doing, like that's fine. There's that option. But I think we do everything else. I mean, we are a full white glove service. And as a small business owner, digital marketing and marketing is a very confusing thing. And business owners are reluctant to admit that because as a business owner, you think you know everything and you never want to admit you don't know. But I think creating that relationship, the big companies, like that's where we are. That's a differentiating factor of who HLM is versus the big companies. Not to mention the ability for us to move very quickly. So as technology changes, Google changes, all these things are happening very fast. We're able to adapt and move a lot quicker than the larger companies.
Okay, sounds great. And what are the services normally do you offer to your clients? So what are your typical retainer contract consists of?
Yeah, for sure. So, our sweet spot customer is if the customer already has an existing website and they're not happy, that's a great customer for us because we'll go through and we'll understand why they're not happy and why it's not working. We'll completely go through and redo the design. We have our own platform that we build all of our web projects on, and then we implement an SEO strategy behind that. So for me, it doesn't make any sense to have a website if you're not doing any type of marketing or lead generation behind it. So we do the full website, the full design, and then we do all the organic SEO optimization. And then sort of step 3 is, we look at Google AdWords, we look at Facebook paid search. So we're all about ROI. So every customer we take on, we clearly define what that ROI is for that customer. So if they're going to pay us $2,000 a month, they know exactly what that opportunity is coming on the backside of that. And we never take on a customer without having that understanding. And it makes a relationship easy because if if you take the idea of 10 plumbers, like you might have a plumbing company that does 10 million a year versus a company that does 300,000 a year, we just treat them all different and we understand that landscape.
Okay, sounds great. The reason I ask you is because you see, it's very difficult to work with a local business, because that also limits your creativity to an extent because they are not ready to understand the vision because they themselves most of them does not have a large vision because they don't want to go that large, right? But it looks like you are on a mission to make sure that the local business go global, which is something I'm understanding during this conversation, which are helping them with a lot of revenues and a lot of marketing stuff. So predominantly anybody who lands up in your geographical area are much likely to find the business that has been promoted by you or marketed by you, right? So that actually somewhere you are developing your own city or would say the area or the state. So that's a good initiative. So now my viewers would like to understand more about Mr. Wesley Mathews. Where does he come from? What does he do? How did he start? And why is he doing this?
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up in a town in Michigan called Plymouth Canton. And, I graduated here from high school and, I took the unconventional route for college. It's kind of interesting. I talk to a lot of people and it's always like, hey, where'd you go to school? Where'd you go to college? Well, it took me about 5 years to get my associate's degree from a local a community college here in the area. School just wasn't my thing. I always knew deep down, like I was always a relationship guy. I was always just, kind of I was drawn to sales and just building relationships. And I learned early on, like communication's key, just build on relationships. And for me, it was like, if I can figure out a way that I could touch every business, sort of like a toothbrush, like everybody every day for the most part is waking up, they're brushing their teeth. Like, how do I figure that out from a business perspective? And at the time, and still it's true today, everybody knows what a website is. Everybody needs digital marketing. So the idea of just having a simple conversation to say, hey, do you have a website? Are you happy? Are you spending money in digital marketing? Are you happy? Like, to me, it was such an easy concept. And at the time when I started the company, I think I started dabbling in when I was about 24, 25. And, here I am, I have this confidence. I want to go out in the world, but I'm like, nobody's going to take me serious if I do finance, right? Like I'm a young kid, clean face and just, I don't know what I'm talking about, right? But from a tech standpoint, from a web standpoint, I was the perfect age. You have other business owners that are kind of looking towards the younger generation to get advice. So, I just kind of picked up the ball and ran with it, So for me, I always had this like scrappier entrepreneurial spirit in terms of like, I wasn't the guy that was like going to wait around and wait for somebody to tell me what to do or how to do it. Or, I'm kind of like that guy, like I'm going to do it and then I'll ask for forgiveness later. My first job, I was 13 years old. I actually opened the Yellow Pages, made a phone call, and I became a dishwasher at a restaurant. Like I was always just like, I'm not going to sit around and wait for somebody to hand me anything. And, that kind of And, in the beginning, there was troubling years and just didn't really know what I was doing. And then when it really came into light, I partnered with the right partner, just went for it. And still to this day, along the side of the growth of the company, I got married. I have 4 boys, young boys. So trying to balance a company with
Wow.
boys. So, it's been a fun ride. And I think it's just a matter of just wanting it and kind of like keeping it as my North Star and just doing the best we can. I mean, we've had many failures, many, you know, employees and vendors and partners and clients. But I mean, I'm 39. I still learn a ton every day. COVID's really helped me understand a lot about myself and the company and just kind of where I'm at personally and developing. So, it's been a wild ride, but, I love entrepreneurship. I love and want to help every entrepreneur I see because I just know that grit and everything that goes along with it and the pressure that everybody's under trying to keep something going. So.
Yeah, interesting. I had the privilege, of working with a few of the largest marketing firms and companies in USA in my previous jobs and the current job that I'm in. Uh, I have noticed that it's very difficult to get a business from a very town-size marketing agency or something like that in USA because they themselves don't know how they long are working, and most of the people they have employed are on commission basis because if they get a profit, they would like to share, under their brand and multiple things. And it's so good to know that, you're doing such a good thing over there and you're still making it profitable with 47 plus employees, which in US is, it's pretty amazing because, coming from where you are and what you're doing, it's amazing. Now, we'd like to understand, where does this digital marketing, what do you see the future of digital marketing going from here? For people in India, at least, they're really fascinated by what goes in America. And we have a notion over here, or people understand things like, marketing is pretty different from what it is in America as compared vis-a-vis to India. But I don't see that much. Maybe strategies is a little bit, or design would be a different due to cultural complexions or multiple other things. But then if you look at it, it's the same because we're using the same platforms as you, Facebook, Twitter, Google, YouTube, or something like that. So I would like to understand your view on the growth of the digital marketing and the
For sure.
and the various aspects of it.
For sure. So, rubbing my crystal ball, I think for the next 12 to 18 months is going to be just, companies getting their bearings and just you're going to see a lot of downsizing in terms of, I call them boutique web agencies in America. You have
Exactly.
maybe five to 10 people that are doing websites and digital marketing. You're going to see a lot of those go away. Let's call it half, or you're going to see them gobbled up by other companies. Even myself, I mean, we're doing some planning coming into the future of 2021, 2022. Acquisition is a conversation around that. But to answer the other side of that question, the most important side is, 10, 15 years ago, my proposition to people was this. I mean, I literally said this all the time, because if they have a website and digital marketing, they'd say, hey, like my sister's cousin's brother's friend's doing it and it's working fine. And I used to say, like 10, 15 years ago, like you couldn't do that, right? Because that individual needs to understand like so many different things to do the job right?
Exactly.
So it's a lot easier to hire a firm like myself and pay a fraction of the price. However, I would say that narrative's changed a bit. So that same individual today, like if you're a small business plumber and you could make that hire, that person now has the technology and the software to build a great website, look at digital marketing. However, you still have the battle of, do I want an employee that's limited to their own resources in their head and what they have access to, or hiring a firm? So I think I still think we're in that bubble for the next 1 to 3 years. But I also think that digital marketing now, let's say we had like 50% reach of the market where people really get it. You have a lot of baby boomers or especially in the skills trades where it's a lot of family owned businesses where they're passing the hat on to the son or the family. Those individuals really get digital marketing. So I think the idea, like there's going to be so much more pressure to get with the right company and to get everything. So people are now understanding how important this is. So I think we have a really good ride for the next 2 to 4 years. And then I think year 5, we're going to be in for some challenges in terms of another round of consolidation. Where's Facebook going? Where's Google going? I mean, Google's always been changing throughout the last 15 years. I've been talking about Google, and I mean, they make so many updates a day. Some big ones come through. They're constantly changing GMB. So, I will say that I think the demand for digital just goes through the roof, and I think we're going to be in for a great ride. And yeah, I can tell you, I used to get private equity investors reaching out maybe a couple times a year. Since COVID, it's probably 4 a day that are reaching out to me that want to somehow partner, buy the company, consolidate the company. So I think the world is now starting to recognize, like, hey, like, this isn't going anywhere. Like, I don't know if people like fought web off or digital marketing, they didn't believe in it. Now everybody's like, how, we're so booked with work right now, and the only way we can do more is by hiring more people. And it's like it's a different mentality. So I think this industry is set up beautifully for the next 2 to 5 years. Beyond that, I don't know. Like, will websites be around, and will a URL be around in 5 years? I can't honestly answer that. I think the market's going to drastically shift, through social. And I fought social media for a long time. I'll be honest, like, this is the first Instagram. I didn't even know Instagram had live video, right? And I sit as CEO of a digital marketing company. I mean, things are happening so fast. And now with Zoom, I mean, I'm at my home right now, and I have 4 kids upstairs. They're on a Zoom meeting with their teacher, and it's a crazy world. I mean, and I think it's just the companies that can innovate and stay ahead of the curve and really help these small businesses navigate through this crazy world are going to succeed.
Oh, that's great. And since you said you have a lot of work and then more than you can handle, are you also looking to outsource some part of that to your soul brothers in India?
Yeah, it's something that we've never done in the past. But again, I do have my executive planning coming up, and we have to figure out some solutions. I mean, I've always had the idea of I like having a team. I like having a team here locally. That way, if we need to bob and weave and move quickly, and we control everything. To me, it's a big enough challenge to manage a team when they're right in front of you, and working remote and working with a team. I've kind of had this badge of honor of being like, hey, like we do everything in house, everything's here. But again, I'll try anything once or twice, and I haven't blocked that out of our business model, but something that we haven't done yet.
Okay, sounds great. See, I was speaking to one of the most largest, advertising firm. I was having this interview, and he was also telling the same thing. There's a lot of work that's more to handle, but you're not getting the resources right. So they're also looking to outsource some part of the work as well. So that actually brings a good news as well. The economy is going up and down, so people are started to getting a lot of work that is required, because if an agency has a work, that means there is a lot of business going on, because we are the first people to take a hit in terms of marketing, budget cuts, multiple other things. Yeah. Marketing team being thrown out of, large firms if the sales are not happening or something is not happening, right? So you actually telling that, a lot of work that's there on the table, that means that the economy is doing pretty well, and we are good for a couple of years now from that point of. See, a lot of people want to learn digital marketing. A lot of people really want to learn digital marketing. Especially in India, there are a lot of institutes that are coming up and selling it at $599. That's almost like $9 course. Can you imagine a digital marketing course for $9? We can even spend $20,000 to learn only about SEO, but we still not be able to do it because it's so hard, because things are changing. Google is changing, right? Any message to people how they should train themselves for digital marketing?
So from my perspective, what I would do, because I'm kind of like a self-start, just kind of get after it kind of guy. I would look at the local market first and look at what customers are doing and figure out who the dominating companies are. So for example, if I admire XYZ company, let's call it Google, Facebook, or, there's a local company that is the best plumber in the area, like really look at their website and understand. So I think what a lot of people need to understand is the digital marketing landscape and everything's laid out, and it's very templatized, yet people come in through the back end and customize to that environment. So what I mean about that is if you look to that company, that local company that you're like, hey, this company's really doing it right, look at what they're doing, how they're ranked. I mean, a lot of the way we get business at High Level Marketing is somebody will search and find a local company, or they're searching for their competitor, find them on the top page of Google, click on their website, go down to the bottom and see High Level Marketing, click on us and say, hey, you built the website for this company and I see them everywhere. Can you do that for me? So I think a good opportunity for anybody who wants to learn digital marketing is just start to search and take a look at actually what's going on and start to understand well, why is this company pulling up over this company? Like, is the content the same? Is there a lot of content, a little content? Like, look at the meta tags and the SEO and the descriptions, and look at the backlinks, look at the page score, look at the citations. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, there's so many resources out there like SEO Moz and just Google's, just doing a lot of due diligence or listening to podcasts and digital marketing, or, reaching out to companies like ourselves and taking opportunities from an internship and saying, hey, like, we'd love to look at, I've had a couple people do that, and we've actually helped them out and let them do some internships with us. So, I would just say, don't read like, this industry isn't super textbook. I don't think anything is. Like, if you just dive in and start to actually see what's out there in the world, you can start to sort of self-educate and start to get an understanding of what digital marketing really is and what that looks like. Hopefully that makes sense.
That's right. Sounds to me, when you made that reference, it's not like a super textbook. It looks like a game of chess. You have to keep doing it, or a game of a baseball. You need to keep changing your tactics and learn.
It's funny. Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that. So I just got back involved in chess, and I've been playing a lot online. And it's funny because, like, some days I play really great, and there's days where, like, I'll get beat by somebody, so fast, and it's like, what happened? And I think it's just, it's the life of digital marketing and entrepreneur. What worked a year ago to get somebody ranked may not necessarily work today, and you have to shift and adapt and look at the marketplace and understand what's going on. So I think for me, just giving advice is listen to as many things as you can, but use your own filter, right? Like, a good saying I love to live by is trust but verify, right? There's a lot of information out there in the world, but look at who it's actually working for. And to that person, like, this is where I'm probably different than most people. Like, I would actually call that local plumbing company and say, hey, you guys have done a phenomenal job with your website and your marketing. I'm trying to just figure out why it's so successful. Like, I would actually be proactive and do that stuff, where somebody might just sit there and read a magazine or a textbook. I'm constantly figuring out, and they might say, hey, we hired this company, High Level Marketing, or, we actually hired our, sister's cousin's friend, and this is how she did it. I mean, there's so many things out there with the internet and video, and, we're talking across the world right now. I mean, there's so many ways for people. I think it's just being proactive and asking the questions and getting information and filtering it out and doing some tests and.
That's great. So, Wesley, just for our viewers and other people staying in Michigan, are you looking to hire people? Are you looking out for talents right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually hired 4 or 5 new team members throughout COVID. So we're always looking to add great people onto our team as we've been adding on projects and scaling the company. Yeah, we're always looking to hire talented people. And now with COVID and the flexibility of, we were a little gun shy in the past about hiring out of state. We actually just added a great team member onto our team who's out of Houston, Texas now. So yeah, I mean, we're always looking to connect with great people. I'm a big believer of having a good bullpen, the term bullpen, like baseball, like make sure we have somebody lined up. I mean, let's face it, like we have 45, 46 employees. Life happens, right? Whether, they're going to go in a different direction or they're not, like, there's so many things going on that we have to manage that it's always good to have a good, pipeline of people who are interested. And, we've been pretty fortunate lately where, we've been in the business now for long enough where people have heard of us. So like we're getting a lot of proactive people reaching out that sort of want to work with us, which is great. Because when we first started, it was like begging and pleading people and selling them why we were such a great company. Now the world sort of sees that, and now there's these opportunities for people to come in. So it's an interesting spot, but it's a great spot to be in.
Oh, that's great. A few of the things that we would like to understand from you is, what kind of hirings are you looking at? Are you looking at content writers, SEO services, SEO executive? What are the hirings that?
Yeah, for sure. So, one of the differentiating factors, I think, with HLM and most companies is we have great account managers. So once an account comes in from the sales side, there's an account manager that manages that account cradle to grave. So we're always looking for good people who can manage a base of customers and really help them, from a consultative basis, understand our products and services, and then help translate and communicate that to the customer, and then allow that customer to understand, flourish, and then grow. So their job is to keep them there, maintained, to make sure that they understand what they're paying for in that product, but then also help them grow and scale alongside with them. So account managers, SEO, so organic SEO, content and UX and UI individuals, designers, developers, and also project managers. So a big part of our business is, project managing a client, right? Like that's difficult. Like, so it's exciting to sell somebody. And when a client comes on board, like let's just, if they're a plumbing company, like they're excited to do a website, but then it's like, okay, now the work has to start. So there is a level of work that the customer has to be responsible for. So project management's a very important role in our organization to keep things moving along, keep the customer on track, keep our teams on track. So HLM has always, benefited from growth, and we continue to look down the road just to continue to keep growing and building out departments. For example, content 6 years ago wasn't a department that we had, but as any business, we had to shift and move, and now we actually have a content team. So I'm sure in the next year or two, like we're going to figure out that, we're always looking to add people on our pay-per-click team, so it's just a lot, it's great. I kind of knock on wood, like there's a lot of great opportunities within our organization and the marketplace out there.
Okay, sounds great. You talk about content. How is content the king right now? What's your thought on that?
It is. I still think backlinks are more important myself, but content is extremely important. I think what's more important now more than ever is the holistic approach of everything we're doing for a customer. So from the citations, I think everything has to be so dialed in to give that website an opportunity to get found on Google. So yeah, to answer your question simply, content's extremely important, quality content. Back in the day, let's call it 15 years ago, I mean, you could get somebody ranked on the front page of Google very easily. Today, they're making the right kind of changes. So that quality content is so important. And I think that's also a challenge for a business owner, because it's really hard to write content. Even for myself, like if you put me in front of a computer and said, hey, write some content for this website, I mean, it's gut wrenching and it's very difficult for me to do. I have a lot of ideas and I can express them, but to have those content individuals actually write it in a way that makes sense, and for search engines, and then wrap everything else with a bow is extremely important.
That's great to know, Wesley, the content, because must have had at least close to 27 interviews right now, give and take 30, and content is the king. A couple of people did say that it's a complement of a lot of things that comes together, but then if you look at it, it's a form of content, whether it's the video, whether it's a text content or something like that. Having said that, we have been hit by COVID. America is suffering as India is, and the whole world is. But we being a couple of the largest nations on the world, and population-wise as well, our stories are much more visible all over the world as compared to any other country. Any message to those people who have lost their job? What should they do? How should they train themselves? And the college students, or the graduates who are stuck after the COVID because there is a hiring freeze right now. The company doesn't want to hire, or they're not able to get the kind of the package they're looking at it. Any particular message to them? How should they keep faith? What should they do?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll give you some. This is probably the best advice I could give anybody. So we receive a tremendous amount of resumes into our company, and I've only been personally contacted or people send me a message direct probably 3 times out of all of it. So, again, being a little scrappy, being a little, I'm not going to call it pushy, but I've had people send resumes and then reach out to me personally on LinkedIn to say, hi, I just sent a resume. Nice to meet you, or whatever. Like they're engaging in conversations with me and or finding other leaders in our company. So I think it's just getting a little skillful, a little crafty, and doing the research of the company, right? Like if somebody sends me an email and gives me some compliments to say, hey, I saw XYZ website, I think you guys did a great job and I really love the content you did. I'm actually a content writer trying to break into the marketplace, and like that to me is the angle to get into any company, is just, understanding. Because I mean, so oftentimes people are just firing resumes off and then they're sitting there like, I'm not getting callbacks, but it's like, do a little due diligence and get some insight, and I'll tell you some of the people that we just recently brought on, that's sort of how the relationship started. So I think my advice is, everybody has a network, right? Even if it's just mom and dad and your aunt, like start building that network, start having conversations, understand what you want, where you want to go, and then how, reverse engineer that. Like, what are my KPIs for the day? What am I going to do? Is it have 10 meaningful conversations today to companies that are looking to hire? Again, you know, there's a sales guy in the United States called Jeffrey Gitomer who wrote the Sales Bible, and his big thing is, you need 10 no's for a yes. So as he's having sales conversations, if somebody's not interested, he'll say, hey, just tell me no so I can move on. And he's right. And I think that logic doesn't change on the employee side either. Because, I've had resumes in front of me that, I mean, man, it would have impressed me so much when I was in high school or college, like, top pedigree of school, this, that, the other. Like, that means nothing to me. It's like, what are you doing? How are you being effective? Like, show me how scrappy you are, because I'm, we're digital marketing, and like, we're not building rockets. So for me, it's like attitude's everything, grit, understanding the market. I mean, some of our best teammates, I mean, if you actually analyze my company, like, nobody went to school specifically for what they're doing. They just sort of like had a passion and kind of fell into it. And that's where I think, you're going to get some of the best people. So yeah, to put it simply, is just stay scrappy, just don't give up, and don't sit there and feel sorry for yourself. And man, nobody's calling me back. Like, pick up the phone, make some introductions, invite somebody to coffee, reach out to a hiring manager and, ask them to go coffee and say, hey, I really respect your company. I want to learn more about it, and, go from there.
That's great. That's great, Wesley. Words like this are going to definitely encourage a lot of people to take that step. Instead of holding back, the things till the time gets over, you need to try something good. That would really be helpful. And I hope you guys are hiring people in spite of any job location, right? You're not, because of COVID now, you can hire in Asia or different other countries as well, right? You're open to that now because the culture is like that. Everybody's looking to work as well, right?
Yeah, that's the cool thing right now. So, for me, I've always had that feeling. The company culture was a little different. Now that COVID hit, now the constraints are blown out. So it does nothing, locations are relevant now, which is super exciting for me, because that's going to create, I look at COVID differently. Like, yes, are there a lot of negatives to it? Absolutely. I know people that are affected, there's that side of it, but there's the other side of it where out of any circumstance, there's a lot of opportunity, and this is creating a lot of opportunities. So how are you going to look at this experience?
Yeah. So COVID has actually brought the good people together, all the good people together, and people are more open-minded and ready to collaborate more, because now location doesn't matter. All it matters is the thinking and where they all are going, right? So that sounds great. So before we close this interview, I would like to ask you just one single question. Are you open for mentoring, Mr. Wesley?
Absolutely. So it's actually, that's like my new passion. I've always felt I've wanted to mentor, but I kind of, I'm my biggest self-critic. I never really felt I had the value to mentor somebody, but now I'm starting to understand like where we're at in the company. Like, I love sharing knowledge. I love giving feedback. My philosophy is like, I can't tell you what's good for you, but I can tell you from my experience what worked for me and help guide you. And I actually learned that from an organization called EO, which I think that they do have a presence in India. It's called Entrepreneur Organization. And yeah, like, I love mentoring. I love just helping people navigate really challenging things. Like, that's what gets me going as a human being, and just, helping people fight through and being a resource when I can. That's my true passion. If I had to worry about nothing for the rest of my life, I could just help people get through the most challenging situations. Cause I don't know. I'm that guy. Like, if there's a fire, I'm not running away. I'm running towards it. Like, that's just me.
Sounds great, sir. So, thank you for your time today with the Net Talk. I think with this interview, we can learn more about, the attitude that you have, or, picking up the Yellow Pages book, calling and asking for a dishwasher's job. I think that's something incredible that I learned today, and a lot of people would learn. No job is small or big. It's just your mind that you have to train that everything is fine, and you can build upon that. From a dishwasher at the age of 13 years, in the past 26 years, is a guy who employs close to 46 plus people in the United States of America, which is now the most expensive place, and runs one of the most successful advertising firms. Thank you, Mr. Wesley, for joining over here. We really thank you for joining at the.
Yeah, thank you so much. Very nice meeting you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Wow, what a story. Mr. Wesley Mathews is a typical American story, started from nothing and built upon everything. What's so unique about Mr. Wesley Mathews? You see, he has picked up a geographical location where he stays, where he has grown up, which is Michigan. Michigan doesn't happen to be one of the largest states in the United States. It's a very, it's an okay, it's just a mildly populated state. He picked up the skills what is required to run digital marketing and marketing. He learned from various trades. He co-founded a company in 2009, which is the high level marketing. And from there on, he started building. Today, he employs close to 47 plus people and has close to 53 other employees as well who are working on different packages as well. So he's doing a pretty good job in terms of working towards it, in terms of bringing the value to its customers. So he's making the local companies make more. He's actually also creating a local, kind of a culture over there, because if he has the reins of marketing in the local market, what he's doing, that means he's controlling most of the business, how they have to behave themselves, how they have to set the standards for themselves. That means he's really doing good for the community as well, which he actually said in the last part of the interview, that if he sees a fire, he's not the guy who's going to run away. He's going to get in front of it and try to do whatever he can, help douse that fire as well. So that's Mr. Wesley Mathews, a very talented man, very hardworking. And we really thank you for joining at the Net Talk. Now, what's the tip for the day? Tip for the day is go ahead, make calls, as I said in my previous message as well, and try to see if you can get hired. Start with anything, a gig job or anything. Just get going. LinkedIn, Naukri, multiple other stops to get your job going. Make a personalized attempt to get a job. Don't just submit your resume. If you see somebody's email, address the person and say, this is what it is, this is what I do. I see you have a great website. I'm a content writer, I'm a graphic designer, I can improve this, I can do this way. That way they know that you are really looking forward to it and you want to get aligned to what they are thinking as well. So this is the way you go and this is the way how you do. And for more questions, please do write to us at Net Talk. We'll try to answer, and keep following us on YouTube and keep sharing this. We need more people to join us. This journey is very important so that we can bring whatever we can to help improve the situation in the country and world over. Take care. Bye bye.